Hey, what's up guys? We're back again with another video, and this one is to answer a follower's question. They asked what baits would I use for winter time. Up north, Joburg area, it's getting quite cold. Even down here in KZN, we're waking up and it's chilly in the morning. It is definitely getting colder. So I thought I'd do a quick video. I'm not sure how long this will take, but I've got a basket here, and what I've done is I've pulled the stock, some items, baits, hooks, and certain things that I would use for wintertime fishing, and then I will talk about them as I go through them. Okay, so I'm going to stick this here, and firstly, there are basically maybe 3 rods that I would use in wintertime. Alright, so let's talk about the rods, the reels, and the line, and then I'll get into this. So the first rod definitely is a spinning rod. Alright, this is the Verto 7.2 medium, but you can use any medium spinning rod. It doesn't have to be whatever you want to use, whatever you've got. A medium rod, nice spinning reel. I would put braid on, like a 20-pound braid, and then I'd put maybe a 10-pound leader onto that braid, and this will come in handy when you're throwing those jig head minnows, you're throwing those TRDs, the very finesse worms, that sort of thing. So definitely a spinning rod is one of the rods that are going to be in my arsenal. The next rod that I'll have is a 610 or a 7-foot medium action rod. This will be for jerk baits, square bills, so that's one rod that I'll definitely have as well. I'd definitely want a jerk bait rod with me, and yeah, this is the line I'd use is probably about between a 10 and a 12-pound line, depending on where I'm fishing. But if I was on a boat in the open water, I'd be fishing a 10-pound fluorocarbon. And then the third rod that I'd have is a 7.2 to 7.4 medium heavy rod. This will be for all my other baits. I would have it for my finesse worms, slightly bigger baits that I'll talk about, mojo rigs, maybe a finesse jig, that sort of thing. And I'd have probably about a 12 to 14-pound fluorocarbon on there. Okay, you can not get too technical into that. Whatever you've got, use it. What I'd suggest in wintertime is to drop everything. So whether you in summertime, if you were fishing a 15-pound line, I'd drop it down to a 12-pound line. And your baits, if you're fishing a big bait like a 5-inch Zoom Super Fluke, I'd drop it down to the junior fluke. And fish it a little bit slower. So slow everything down and make all your baits slightly smaller. Okay, so let's go through the baits. And this will depend on where you are in the country. It'll depend on water clarity, but it's just to give you a ballpark figure of what I would use, and maybe it will help you guys catch some fish during winter time. It's rubbish to just sit and watch the dam. It's so cold, but when it is cold, the fish are still eating. You just have to find them. You just have to get those fish to eat. That is the trick. So you can catch some really good fish in winter. Okay, so firstly, a 4-inch Senko. This is the Netbait Ion. This is a 4-inch Senko. Absolutely, I will have this on my boat or in my bag. Definitely a 4-inch Senko. Okay, I would have the center jerk shad from Z-Man. This is the 4-inch one. I will drop down from the 5 down to the 4-inch. This will be great for jig heads. It will be great for a mojo rig, and it will also be great for weightless. If you want to drop down to another brand that sinks, then you can throw it weightless. This Z-Man is buoyant, so the 4-inch will sit higher in the column. It will float a little bit more than your Zoom Super Fluke Junior. Okay, so a 4-inch or 3.5-inch bait fish presentation bait style bait will work. Absolutely, definitely will have. I'll have these things have sold so well. They've caught so many fish since we've got them in. It's the Z-Man Fuzzy Bugs. You can also get the Fuzzy TRDs. It's a nice small little bait, alright, and that you'll put onto a small little Ned rig to fish slow on the bottom and catch good fish. Okay. The other one is the Z-Man TRD Fatty. This is the PB&J color, so it's got that brown and then it's got that purple, and that also on a small little jig head, just fishing it really slowly on the bottom. Your blip minnow from Netbait, that will go nicely on a jig head for open water, and you can fish it around scattered grass and that sort of thing, so it works really well. A nice small little bait. This is a 3-inch size. You see how I'm talking, I'm going from 4.5, 5-inch paddle tails and flukes, that sort of thing. I'm going down to 3, 3.5, 2.5 size baits. Okay. Then I've got the Fatty Z's. Alright. This I'll definitely have. I will say don't not have big baits in your gear. And I'll talk about that now. But this is the 5-inch Fatty Z. Alright. That on a mojo rig, on a shaky head, will work really well. I'll have the 3.5 panorama from 6 cents. Definitely I'll have one of those with me. And then basically it gets to a couple of the worms on for shaky head presentation. Alright. The first one, Zoom finesse worm. Definitely have something like this. This will be nice to put on a shaky head. You can still target those laydowns and the rock piles and grass lines, but it's just, it doesn't present something too drastic, appendages kicking and all of that. It's just a nice, simple, slow retrieve, and you can literally shake your rod and just get that bait to move in one spot to entice that fish to bite. I will also use a Zoom U-tail worm. Alright, it's a 7-inch worm, but it's got a bit of a curly tail, so it just gives a little bit more action in the water. If those fish don't want the finesse worm, you can try this. They might want that little bit of movement, and that'll entice them to eat. So 7-inch, 6.5 to 7-inch worm with a bit of a curly tail, that will do well. And then we'll have the Ultra Vibe Speed worm from Zoom. This is El Diablo color. It's got a bit of orange and like a California 420 mix. And the reason why I picked this is it's a nice bait to put on a mojo rig to drag slowly on the bottom, but you can cut it in half. Use the top half you can use as a Ned rig, and then the bottom half you can use as on a little jig head. It'll be a nice bit of meat with a nice tail on it, so it gives you a bit of options to play with. So that is also something to think about. And then I will also have the trick worm. Now the trick worm is quite big, alright, but this one here I'll definitely have on my 7.4 medium heavy rod, 3/16 ounce tungsten sinker, and I will just look for that slightly bigger bite, that bigger fish that wants a slow meal but they want a big meal. Okay. I will definitely have a couple jigs in my box, and the jig trailers, you can just get a small little Ultra Vibe Speed Crawl or something with little appendages. Nothing too, it mustn't have big flanges, it mustn't kick a lot of water, it must be nice and subtle. So jigs and some trailers. I will go with jerk baits, shallow diving jerk baits, deep diving jerk baits, must have. And then some hard baits here, your crankbaits, square bills and lipless cranks. Those will definitely be in my bag for the day. And then let's talk about the terminal tackle. I'll have the jig heads. Alright. Those are drop shot rig. Okay. I'll definitely have some drop shot sinkers. I'll have some mojo weights. I'll have weighted wacky hooks for those 4-inch Senkos. because I want it to get down in the water column. I want to get it down to 12 foot and I want it to stay down there. All right, so weighted wacky hooks are good. The Vark shakehead jig heads, okay, for your finesse worms, your U-tail worms, that sort of thing. And this is the Ned rig, but it's got an EWG hook on it, so you can fish a Ned rig weedless, so that's quite nice. Ned rig, it's a EWG hook, and then your normal jig heads, so like that. That's your normal jig head that you'll put the blip minnow on. You'll put small little center jerk shads, you'll put it on this, and a lot of the time you'll see with the Vark, it comes with a little wire keeper. A lot of the time they just cut the wire keeper off. Okay, so that's more or less what I'd use. Obviously with the bigger trick worms and that sort of thing, I'll use a 3/0 hook, or 4/0 round bend hook, and just keep it simple, guys. Don't overthink it. Drop down the size of your bait. Get out there with 1 or 2 packs, maybe have a jig to drag on the bottom, but just the main thing, guys, don't not fish this winter. Get out there. It's going to be cold, but get out there from about 8ish. As soon as that sun cracks on the water and it starts warming up, get out on the water, walk the bank, throw a couple lines and see what comes out. You'll be surprised how many fish are still eating in winter. So I hope that helps. If you guys have got any other questions, just swing them through. Comment on the video and I'll do a video on that. If you want to look at any baits that we have in stock, I can pull that bait. I can show you it. As I said in the previous videos, it's difficult for people to get to the stores. So if you want to have a look at it in a video, I can do that for you. All right, guys, enjoy. Get out on the water, get fishing, and just keep at it. Cheers, guys.